3 minutes past 2 here on SENZ, running it straight. No Kempy today, unfortunately. He's not able to make it in. So, a big shout out to you, Kempy, but unfortunately he's not going to be with us between now and 3 o'clock. As you've heard all across the morning, Andrew Webster is going to be joining us very, very shortly, head coach of the Warriors during the bye week. There's lots to talk through with Webby. There's been plenty of questions on social media, and I see a bunch coming through already on YouTube. You can send some through on 8833, but we're going to talk the next 5 weeks, next 6 weeks for the Warriors leading into finals. We'll talk about players coming back, injury concerns, whether we're going to rest players. There's lots to get stuck into, even though we don't have a game on this weekend. We will have a look at this weekend's game, even though the Warriors aren't taking part, and would love to get your thoughts throughout the show on 0800 150 811, or you can text through on 8833, or leave a comment on the YouTube channel as well. It is great having you as a part of the show. No Kempy, but we do generally just have a look back on the games from the weekend, or the game from the weekend, which of course was the Warriors taking down the Raiders in Golden Point from Go Media Stadium, Mount Smart, on Friday night. There was I wouldn't say... or maybe it was a lapse in concentration from the Warriors over the last 10 minutes, where they were ahead 20 points to, I think it was 20 points to 8. And then Elliot Whitehead in the 78th minute, Jack Whiten in the 79th minute got the Raiders to draw level. And then Jared Croker missed the kick, and they go to extra time. Golden Point, Sean Johnson hits the field goal. I said at the time, despite people being upset that we fell off the boil in the last 10 minutes, it was still a game between two top 4 teams. And if you'd said before the start of the game that it's going to come down to 1 point or a golden point and the Warriors were going to win, you'd take that against the Raiders, who can and have upset a couple of the big name teams this year. So look, whilst we did fall off a little bit towards the end, I still think you take the 2 points, you're happy with it, and that gets out of the way our sort of hard run of games. Now we've got this good stretch home after the bye, 5 games of teams outside the top 8, and a real chance to solidify a spot in the top 4. Don't take anything for granted, of course. Not going to count our chickens, or what does Kempy say? Count your chickens before they lay their eggs. But you would think with playing sides outside the top 8, that's going to keep the Warriors well inside the top 8 and hopefully the top 4 as well. A couple of standouts, though, from that Warriors game for me. Obviously, Adam Whanua-Blake just keeps doing Adam Whanua-Blake things over 200 metres. He made a bunch of tackles, a couple of line breaks as well. He was fantastic. Tohu did great for the time that he was on the park. I think he got over 50 tackles. I still think Wade Egan is one of the biggest keys for this team. When we do win, I think Wade Egan does a lot that goes unrecognised, particularly with his craftiness out of the ruck. He set up that try to Marata Niokore first up. And it's unfortunate Kempy's not here, because he would have loved revelling in the fact that he picked Marata as first try scorer before the game. But that little play out of dummy half from Wade Egan sort of highlights, I think, how important he is to the side. Sean Johnson had a really good game as well. Chance was solid at the back. So even though, it wasn't the best game from the Warriors, and I think they only completed at about 77%, they still had some, I think, massive performances that they should be pretty happy with. We're going to have a bit of an elongated chat with Webby. So what I'm going to do is take a break nice and early here in the show. When we do come back, we will get Andrew Webster on the line. Lots to talk through, like I said, your questions as well. So stick with us here on Running It Straight, thanks to South Seas Healthcare, Auckland's largest Pacific wellbeing service provider. We'll come back with Webby after this. 11 minutes past 2 here on SENZ. Running it straight, no Kempy today, so just Sammy taking you through until 3 o'clock. And look, so many questions that have come through on social media, on the YouTube channel, as well as on the text machine. I am not going to be able to get to them all, but I will try my absolute best to try and get as many as I can to the man who we've got on the line now, even though we don't have a game this weekend. I was going to say his week off, but I bet he doesn't get a week off, Webby. But we're very privileged to have him on the line now to have a chat with us. Webby, thanks heaps for coming on. Welcome in.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
Got any sleep, mate, since Friday night?
Oh, mate, plenty. Winners are grinners, and winners sleep better. The heart was racing there for a period, as everyone's was, but no, mate, I was proud of the boys, how they got themselves out of trouble down there, and Golden Point, I thought they were exceptional. So a lot of pressure in that situation, particularly when you've lost that momentum that we had. So I thought they did great.
A lot of people were sort of talking about that last 10 minutes and just falling away a little bit, Webby, but I still think it's a top 4. It was a top 4 matchup between two sides that are worthy of being in that position. The Raiders are no slouch of a team. So in a way, if you sort of had said at the start that it was going to be a 1-point game, you're going to win a golden point, you'd probably take it despite what happened in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, ours is concentration. So we tend to go, I thought, we were in an arm wrestle, we were grinding. Twice Sean kicked early into that right-hand corner, and we chased really well. Once we gave away a penalty, and the other one we let them out of their end. So that penalty actually let them get down our end, and we defended our try line for such long periods there. And then they came up with a great grubber for a try. And that's when everyone got nervous because there was a minute to go. And they were full of confidence, and we were really worried. So I felt like we didn't fall away, just thought we needed to concentrate better and be a bit more disciplined because we were trying so hard. We're so eager at marker. We gave away that penalty that we just got to be smarter there, and we could have closed that out a bit easier.
I want to talk about Sean's kicking game, not just in that game, but sort of across the season, because he leads the NRL in kick meters. It gets us in such good field position, whether we've had a good sort of attack through the middle or whether we've struggled for meters. It seems to be Sean's kicking that puts us in a fantastic position to win. But I guess people looking at it, we sort of see that Sean is really the only kicking option at the moment. Is that something that you're keen to try and incorporate into whether it's Luke's game or Tamaidi's game to just sort of take a bit of pressure off Sean?
Yeah, I think we're it's hard when you're two right foot kickers. So on the left side of the field, it's really hard to kick simply because they kick pressure you so well from that side, and your angle's really hard to kick from. But in saying that, Luke's and Tamati have got a really good, I call it like a punch, a kick where you can kick down that corridor of theirs and kick it low and hard and into the corner. And all we want them to develop is that, maybe once or twice a game, when the fullback starts sitting on Sean's kick, that they can call for the football, like an overcall, and then just punch it down that corridor. So you don't need to do it 5 or 6 times a game. Once or twice is enough, because that starts making the fullback nervous that, hang on, there's 2 options here. And when they do start sitting on Sean, that could be a really good play for us. So those 2 boys have got that in us. We just got to keep practicing it and just give them the confidence to use it more.
Tohu over the last couple of weeks, like we know how much he brings, leadership-wise, his effort, his work rate. I think he made 50 tackles on Friday night, just such a stalwart in the middle. But he seems, just over the last couple of weeks, to be getting those sort of longer breaks. And look, he's got more bandages on him than the mummy at the moment. Is that something you're managing over these sort of next few weeks up into finals? Will we maybe see Tohu get a little bit more time on the interchange to just rest him up a bit?
Well, we always wanted to give Tohu a break. We never wanted to play him for 80 minutes continuously, but just with all our forward injuries, that one, we were getting in the middle of games, and also our forward pack that we had available. So, everyone's built differently. So the players that are currently getting picked and have come back into the squad, they've all played big minutes, huge minutes. So we don't need Tohu to play the 80. I think there's going to be a time where we're like, okay, Tohu, sorry, mate, you're on today. But it's not like that at this situation. We bring back Jazz Tavunga into the mould. Like, he should be back next week or the week after. And if that's the case, there's another guy who can play big minutes. So, excuse me, I just sneeze. But we just got to, we're going to be mindful that we don't need to do that with Tohu as much as we used to.
Is that part of, I guess, Tohu just being a little bit older and the legs just being a little bit more tired? Like, is he telling you I can if I need to, or is it, I guess, managing where he's at in his career as well?
Neither or that. No, neither of those things. It's just, honestly, you don't need to have him there for 80 minutes if you've got subs up your sleeve and you've got guys who are very good quality forwards. We've got a great forward pack. So, like I said, someday we're just going to say, right, Tohu, you're staying there. And he'll do that job, but we don't need to at the moment. So it's not even about his age or his body or anything like that. It's just simply why do it? If you look at all the best packs in the NRL, they mix it up, so we don't need to do that.
The edges for us, which I think have been for a lot of people not the surprise package, but have been a real point of difference for us in 2023. They've got Jackson Ford on one side, Marata on the other, and it was disappointing to see Marata get that HIA because I thought that game was just set up for him perfectly on that right edge. But How important is it for you to have a bit of a difference in those two edges? Because Marata's, that powerful ball runner, hits hard. Jackson Ford, more of that, I guess, workhorse, and just puts himself in everything. Is that something that's important to you, to have just a little bit of a difference between your two edges?
Yeah, I think it's always good to have one back rower that could just play forever. And if the game went for 3 hours, Jackson Ford would play at the same intensity that he did in the first minute. So that's great, and that's one less sub you use. So that's why we can rotate our middles a bit more. Marata's like that big explosive guy, as you mentioned. So it's not important. Like if both of them were made like Jackson Ford, or both of them were made like Marata, that would be fine too. And to top it off, we've also got Josh Curran, who comes on and can stay on the field, and we've also got Bailey Siriman, who could play edge back row. So I think we've got some really good balance there. And I think it's important that Marata is just extremely explosive early, doesn't leave anything in the tank, and he can come out off on the field, and he could even go back on in the middle. That's how good Marata is. He played that much front row at Parramatta. We're playing him way more edge back row than he ever played there. So the flexibility around that rotation is important. But to answer your question, I don't think you have to. It's not important to have some difference, but they just are who they are. I just want them to be themselves. I just want Jacko to bring what he does and Marata to bring what he does.
I'll talk to you a little bit about that bench makeup a little bit later on. I saw you on 360 the other night with the boys on Fox Lead, having a chat to them. You mentioned moving into the finals, the fact that, whilst you've got some good confidence going here, there's still some things that you feel like the boys need to improve if we are to, I guess, make a run and potentially make a grand final. Are you able to just share with us a few areas that maybe you're looking for us to improve on heading into finals?
Mate, I never meant, I just never mentioned about finals. They asked me do you dare to dream? I just said we dreamt from day one that we want to win the grand final. And of course, you got to make the finals to win the grand final. I understand that, but our focus is just simply on improving each week, because we've got so much improvement in us. And we've spoken about, if we do want to be successful, we've got to knuckle down and fix some things now. We don't believe our game's good enough to challenge for that sort of stuff. So there's no focus on building into the finals. It's literally how can we improve now and get as good as we can at what we want to do. And if we get those improvements, those chunks of improvement, then we'll win as many games as we can on the run home. And if that gets us the finals spot, then that's great. Because I feel like everyone thinks this is guaranteed at the moment. There's a long way to go. There's 5 weeks, and we're not guaranteed anything yet.
Are you able to share with us some of the improvements? Whether you're keeping your powder dry?
No. I just thought it's obvious. I think everyone can know our biggest improvements. We call it the icing on the cake. Our game is built really well. We know what it looks like. We know how to do it. Our attack moves well. We can adjust to what the defence does. We're very flexible. Our defence, our goal line defence, is brilliant. When we kick into corners, our line speed's really good, but we just don't nail it enough. We don't get that job done enough time. So, example, we had that game in the bag and we kicked in the corners and we let them out. So we just got to keep that foot on the throat and that pressure there for longer. So that's no secret. I don't mind people knowing that. There's other little things, but that's the icing on the cake. That could take us from being from a good team to a great team.
Right, some of the injuries, which everyone, when we said we were getting you on, just flooded with questions about where the injury sort of status is of everyone. So you mentioned Jazz hopefully back next week or the week after. Is there sort of any more certainty on Tamaiti and some of the other boys that are still sort of nursing their way back?
Tamaiti's leg's a funny one. It's healing good. It's just not going as fast as he would like, or us. He keeps getting X-rayed and it just shows great healing. His running's just progressed really well. I don't think you'd see Tamaiti for another 4 weeks at least at this stage. And in 4 weeks' time, I might be giving the same message, unfortunately. But at this stage, we're just going to slowly progress. It's just, we'd love him available for selection, but we've just got to do the right thing by that injury. It's just one of those one of those injuries you've got to give it time.
Yeah.
Who else was there?
There's Ed Cossey sort of nursing a few, and then Braden Williami. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So Braden, that's a hard one. He tore his calf early in the year, and he hasn't really recovered from that. He's tried to, but it just hasn't worked. It's failed. So that might work out. We're not sure yet. Ed Cossey, he's due back in about 2 weeks. Coss's knee injury's come along really well, so he should be back available for selection too.
I guess then the hardest equation for you, Webby, is how do you incorporate these guys back in when the team's going so well and we've only got 5 games heading into potential finals. How does that work in your eyes, trying to get these guys incorporated back in the team without, I guess, disrupting, making sure they're up to playing scratch and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be a good headache. I've been asked these questions a few times throughout the year, and just when I think they're all going to be available, something happens. So I'm not going to jinx it. One thing I'm learning as a head coach is a week in rugby league's a long time. So you think you're about to have a good headache, and then you don't get it. So if it happens, we'll just pick the team that we think's best suited to beat that opposition that week. So we'll work that out when the time comes, because, like you mentioned before, rotations, and we've got to probably look at what sort of game the opposition's going to give us, and then making sure we're still getting our game on the way we like to do it. So I think that headache, hopefully it comes, and hopefully it does happen. But we'll adjust from a week-to-week basis there.
Something that we talk about a lot on the shows here is, I guess, the makeup of the interchange. Should everyone be fully fit? In your eyes, or in your ideal world, how does the interchange look? Do you sort of prefer to have, when you look at Jazz and Dylan, these sort of dynamic guys that can play in multiple positions paired up with someone who can cover maybe hooker and then a bigger body? Like, just in terms of, you don't have to mention names, but in terms of how you see the interchange, what would be your ideal makeup?
Yeah, so I think we've got such a good backup in Freddie Lussick as a 9, and if something were to happen to Wade, Freddie would always be your best replacement. But that's kind of, if nothing happens for Wade, then you kind of you don't. It takes you two subs to get Freddie off the field, and then to put Wade back on it. So that's a difficult one. So if Freddie doesn't play in that 17, and you don't pick him on the bench, it's good to have someone that can play a little bit of 9 for a 10, 20-minute period. And I think that's Bailey Sheridan and Dylan Walker. I think they do that really well. Jazz has done it in the past if he's available. I think leg speed, fitness, and I think off your bench, your rotation, when they're tired, you need guys with foot speed, and Jazz and Dylan, they certainly bring that off the bench. They cover the ground really well, and I think Jazz is an absolute specialist at that icing on the cake that I was mentioning before about that line speed. So I think him and Dylan work really well together when they're on. They haven't got to do it much this year, but when they did, they did a great job at it. And then I think you want to bring your experienced players back on to finish the game. So that's like guys like Tohu, Mitch Barnett, Adam Fanor-Blake. They come back on and they're experienced players and know what to do in those situations.
If with Jazz and Dills on the bench and generally coming on and playing in the middle, do you feel like you need a bigger body on there as well, or do you think those two are enough cover?
Yeah, I think you can. Everyone will say we look a bit small, but I don't mind. I don't mind if we move fast. I mean, Jazz. I wouldn't like to run at Jazz. I know he's not the biggest guy, but he can shorten you up. Dylan Walker can too. They do it a bit different to those big guys, and I've never seen those two guys carry the ball and get driven back. So if you think about it, we could probably complicate it just because we're used to that regular huge front rower. But we start with size. So Adam brings us that. Even Mitch Barnett is not massive, but he plays hard and fast. So yeah, even like Bunty and Tom Ali, their frame is not like tall and big and huge. So we've got a lot of, I call them low to the ground, barrel-chested nuggets in our team that are powerful, fast and aggressive. So and they move across the ground really well. I think Adam's the only like real giant figure we've got, but foot speed and moving fast in attack and defence seems to be working for us this year.
Yeah, nuggets. I like that terminology. Webby, I probably should have apologised for talking about finals because I know how focused you are on just getting the week-to-week stuff right and these next 5 games. But the question that also has come through a lot from the listeners is just around the consideration of potentially resting guys over the next 5 weeks. Has that entered your thinking at all, as you sort of head towards the end of the regular season?
Yeah, no. I can't even stress how that's just, that's a big no, guys. Like, it's a good question, but we're not in a position to be even considering that. And one, we've got to get some continuity. Against the Titans, we want everyone that's available to be playing. The only way someone won't play is if the doctor or the physio says to me, Webby, they're not fit to play. So everyone will be available, and we'll be picking the best team that we think to win each week.
Webby, just a couple more to quickly finish. I just want to pivot here somewhat, and forgive me if it sort of takes the focus away from what's coming up over the next couple of weeks. But talking to Cameron George in studio on Monday, we talked a lot about recruitment and also looking to 2024. Talked about Roger, and look, I know you've come out and sort of solidified that Roger is going to play in that centre position with Chance at fullback. But another question that's come in a lot from the listeners is how we envisage using Chanel. Because he's one that isn't getting talked about a lot. I mean, there was a lot of hype when it got announced he was coming back. Are you able to just maybe give us a steer on how you might see him incorporated into the side in 2024?
The big thing is Chanel's going to initially have a period of time where he, how do I say it? He hasn't played rugby league at all for 12 months. He hasn't trained with a rugby league side for 12 months. So I think just by his nature and how professional he is and how hard he works, that won't be a problem for him. But that could take a little bit of time. We're invested in the long haul. Chanel's big thing is he wants to improve on his game before he left rugby league. And we want to give him that opportunity. And he's that talented that we feel like the world's his oyster and what he could achieve. So I've made it really clear, and I said on 360 to ask him about where Roger fits, like that. I'll pick the best 17 players that will win us a game, and I'm not ducking the question. What I mean by that, like if that's Chanel at 6, if that's Chanel at 7, 9, 1, even if he plays number 14, if he's doing everything right, Chanel will be in the 17 somewhere. If it's not the best thing for the team, and he hasn't earned. Like anyone, every single player's got to earn their spot. So if he hasn't earned it, then he won't play. If he's doing everything right, which I think he will, he'll earn his spot. And I think we've got 3 or 4 other players that will be fighting to do the same thing. So competition's a really cool thing for us next year. But we've got that same competition battle right now, which is really good too.
Yeah, it's a great headache to have, as you mentioned before. Webby, there's been a lot of chat from the players about just how inspiring you've been to them in 2023, as well as some of your other coaching staff. I wanted to ask you, who inspires you, Webby? Who's the inspiration, the motivation in your life?
I'd say my family. Yeah, I'd say my mum and dad, my brother and sister. I think mum and dad, just the way they treat people. Their work ethic and what they instilled in me has been a huge factor in my life. Yeah, I think people talk about inspiration at our club currently. Like we've got a really big mix where we've got good people who want to work hard. That's a pretty good formula. So that helps us buy in and achieve what we want to do. So I feel like mum and dad have inspired me to be as close as I can to that, to be a good person and work hard. So if anything's rubbing off it'd be from my parents, I'd say.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, mate. A lot of questions as well asking you to sign a lifetime deal. Someone's also asked here to if you'd consider running for Prime Minister. There's an election this year, Webby. So if you want to throw your name in the hat, you're gonna have to get to that pretty quickly. But just sort of on that, mate. Young Max is only a couple of months old now. What do you have to wait around 17, 18 years, and then you can do what Ivan did and maybe coach him for the Warriors? Is that a dream?
Yeah. Yep, I'm an old dad. I started late in my career, so I've thought about it. I think I'll coach him for like 5 years, from like when he's 18, 23, and then I'll hand the reins over, and then I'll retire. I'll be probably as old as Wayne Bennett, which is not a bad gig.
Hopefully with a grand final ring as well with the both of you. Just finally, Webby, and it's a little bit silly, but once again, the listeners they want to know if you can wade in to the Warriors or the Wars debate, mate. When you're behind closed doors, is it the Warriors or the Wars?
Do you know what? We are so flexible. I cannot begin to tell you how many text messages I sign off with "Go the Wars." The boys say the Wars a lot. I think if I ever reference the Warriors, Go the Warriors, it would be probably for people who don't understand the Wars, because it's very New Zealand based, that one, and I love it. But no, we're very flexible. We buy into both as a group. That's for sure. But yeah, plenty of Go the Wars.
There's certainly a lot coming.
I love these questions.
It is good, mate. It is good. Hey, Webby, look, we've taken up so much of your time, mate. I know you're a busy man. You've got to get back to your young one and enjoy. I don't know if you get any time off, mate, during a bye week, but at least you can, just not stress for a weekend, hopefully. But really appreciate you jumping on, mate. We are all very excited as we approach the end of the season, hoping that the team continues to ride the high, and we're looking at some good finals football ahead, mate. So thanks heaps for coming on. Awesome.
Thanks so much for having me.
There you go, Andrew Webster joining us here on Running It Straight. Look, some great little nuggets in there. Lots to talk about. Te Maire Martin, 4 weeks at the least away, Webby says, and potentially longer. For me, that basically says that's not enough time, in my mind, for him to come back, get enough games under his belt before we head into finals. I think you can almost draw a line under Te Maire Martin coming back into the starting 17. Never say never, but just based off what Webby said there, that's the vibe I get. Good news as well for fantasy players all around the world who are sweating on players getting rested. Webby doesn't want a bar of it. There will be no resting of players. Look, we're going to throw open the lines. If you want to have a chat, 0800 150 811. React to the Webby interview if you have any thoughts about something he said. If you want to get any sort of questions out there that maybe didn't get asked, we can have a little chat about it. We do have to take some news, sport and weather. We're a little bit over time here. So give us a call, 0800 150 811. We'll take your calls after the break. 23 minutes away from 3 o'clock here on SENZ. You can call us on 0800 150 811. We'd love to get your thoughts on what we just heard from Andrew Webster, the head coach of the Warriors. Didn't get time, obviously, to ask all your questions. There were just so many. There were a couple around Adam Pompey as well, who's just signed on. That came out this afternoon, just signed on for the Warriors until 2025. And Viliami Vailea has just signed on for the Cowboys. So I guess you get the sense there that they've signed Pompey, let go of Vailea. There'll be a lot of people out there who, and I know there's a lot of people who don't particularly rate Adam Pompey. I think he's gone to another level in 2023. You've got to give him a lot of credit for that. Yep, there's still deficiencies in his game, but he's a hard worker. Viliami Vailea, and just from what I've heard around the club, there is a big question mark over his work ethic and how much he wants to be an NRL player. And it's very disappointing because he's a talented, very talented player. I was one of our standouts, I thought, in 2022 as a rookie. But there's a reason he's been stuck in New South Wales Cup at the moment. And it's not because he's not talented. It's because of other things. That's just what I take out of it all. So he signed on for the Cowboys. Look, he might go over there and become a superstar. That does happen to Warriors players, doesn't it? But I think Adam Pompey has proven himself to be a worthy contribution to that team in 2023. And he'll only get better. He'll only improve under Webster. So that sort of solves any questions people had over whether Pompey was going to re-sign and how many centres. I mean, we do have a lot of centres. When you look at 2024, you're going to have obviously Pompey, RTS, who's coming back to play centre. You got Rocco Berry, Ali Lautoa, who I think is a superstar, Braden Williami, who, as Webby said there, is just really struggling with that calf injury. But he'll be back in 2024. So yeah, we'll see how that centre makeup comes about in 2024. But some other interesting points there as well. I mean, Webby's always, in a way, sometimes frustrates me a little bit, but that's just my selfish media hat that I put on there, because you sort of want him to talk about finals football. You want him to talk about the games coming up and resting players, etc. But Webby's just the kind of guy who just doesn't want to buy into that at all. He thinks game by game. He doesn't. I guarantee you, there's not a conversation in his head that he's had with or with his players and coaching staff about a top four. The sense you get from the man is that that doesn't even cross their radar. They focus week to week, and that's how they build. But you sort of do have to ask the question of whether they have one eye on the finals, because you've got to think about guys that bodies are a little bit sore and giving them a bit of extra time on the bench. You've got to think about how you're approaching, I guess, each game tactically as you build. And as people have highlighted, we don't play a single team inside the top 8 in the last 5 games. Is that a bit of a hindrance heading into the finals? All the top 8 teams are playing each other. Your Panthers, Storm, Rabbitohs, Cowboys, these teams are all playing each other over the next 5 weeks. A perfect lead-in to finals football, yet we're playing bottom 8 teams. Is that going to hinder us a little bit? But that's something that you sort of can't put to Webby because he's not thinking about finals. 0800 150 11 though, if you do want to give us a call and offer up your thoughts, would love to have a chat with you. Obviously, there's no game this weekend, so we've got no game to preview. But the Warriors' next game against the Titans is the next one on the cards, and I do have us winning the last 5 games on paper, but it sort of wouldn't surprise me if there is one bogey game in there. Maybe it's not the worst thing heading into finals, but it may mean that we don't clinch a home semi-final. It means we've got to wait for the second week if we don't make it past the first week. I think either way, we play the Broncos in the first round. If you go online and do your NRL ladder predictor, you'll find, depending on other results, I still think it's us and the Broncos in 2 and 3. So we're going to play each other, whether it's here or in Brisbane. We're going to play each other, and that's going to be a very tasty matchup. I think we've got Domo who's called in on the line. G'day, Domo.
G'day, buddy. You can hear me okay, mate?
I can hear you perfectly, mate.
Okay, sweet. It's a clever cookie, Webby. Good on you, mate. God loves a try, and you're not a cliche, but yeah, we can all understand him, mate. He just want to put the cart before the horse, and he'll have his plans all set out there. If push comes to shove, in regards to Tamari, you want some space, buddy. I just think he's keeping his cards close to his chest there, buddy, and if the needs must, you might see a couple of
I think you are just cutting out at the end there, Domo. Your phone line did just crackle as soon as I picked you up, mate. But I do sort of get what you're taking there, and he might be keeping his powder dry with Tamari, but I do think that's genuine. I've heard some other things around the club that the rehab has just been a little bit longer than they expected. So let's hope it's not the 4 weeks, because I think if it is 4 weeks, you're talking 3 games after the bye. They've only got 2 games before they get to finals. I think that's not enough time for him to come back in, get up to speed, and play finals. Play finals football to the level that we need him to when you've got Luke Metcalf having a great game in the number 6 great games in the number 6 jersey. Jace has called in from Sydney. G'day, Jace.
G'day, Sammy. Great chat with Webby there, mate. It was good to hear his thoughts.
Mm.
One of the things I got from it, I don't really have any concerns about playing the lower ranked teams running into the finals, because you just got to live it up. Like, we're Warriors fans, so you take whatever's coming. And I think the level of football that they've been playing, it will stand up in finals football.
Mm-hmm.
I've got no doubts about that. As Webby had said from Friday night's game, Shawnee kicking on the 4th tackle, they were brilliant kicks. They deserved better than what we gave them.
Mm-hmm.
As Webby said, they got out of their end one time. The other time it was a penalty. But if we had been tidier, and those 2 efforts, mate, game over.
Yeah.
It's not even close.
And that's what.
And that's.
Sorry, Jason, I was just going to say, and that's what Webby's talking about, obviously, with the icing. That's where he thinks the team goes to the next level, is just icing those moments, particularly towards the end of games, because we do so well to build those leads. It's just about, finishing it off and being ruthless, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's the only thing I took out of that. And And the fact that we've, if we look back at the games against the really top echelon sides, and I'm saying Penrith and Melbourne, that Anzac Day game, we had a huge lead.
Yeah.
And then,
I think we played better. I think we played better than Melbourne in that game, Jace. To be honest, I actually do think that was one of those losses this year where it almost felt like we didn't lose. I know the scoreboard said we did, but it didn't felt like we did.
Oh, absolutely, and that prompted the our sponsor to send that social media post, and and we got a sin bin in that one too. I think Dylan Walker got sin bin.
Mm-hmm.
And against Penrith, we've only played each of those sides once this year, and that was Magic Round. It was only 18-6, and it was 12-6 up until about the 72nd minute. We had 2 people sin bin in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think people haven't stepped back and actually had a good look at those. Those runs and those games that we had against those top echelon teams, because we know that those are the semi-final teams that everyone talks about. We've played well against them this year, so I'm really looking forward to the finals, Sammy. Yeah,
awesome, Jace. I really appreciate your call. If you do want to jump on 0800 150 811, I do take Jace's point around, you look at it two ways. Either you win the next 5 games against these teams that are outside the top 8, gives you a lot of confidence. You start to really hone in those combinations, the consistency in your game plan, knowing that you're going to be primed and ready for a top 8 team. Although I do see the point of we really haven't, and particularly the top, I'm talking Penrith and the Broncos. So we played a depleted Broncos side after the bye, so we haven't really played their top team, and we played the Panthers way back when. And those are obviously the 2 form teams at the moment in that top 4. Of course, the Cowboys we beat twice, but we're going to be coming up against a very different Cowboys team if we do make the top 8. And there is a part of you that says, because we haven't faced those teams recently, are we going to get a bit of a shock? I can see both sides. I really can. We've got to take a break here on Running It Straight. When we come back, more of your calls. Got lots of texts and comments coming through on the YouTube as well. Stick with us. Running It Straight. We've only got a couple of minutes. Got a couple of calls on the line. A quick text that says, hey, Andy, heard your discussion re hunting. If deer aren't pests, what are they called? It's certainly not for running it straight, I don't think. Maybe for the rural roundup. Joey from Auckland, mate. We've got a couple of minutes. Quick fire. What have you got?
Yeah, good day, mate. There's nothing wrong with their defence. They've got one of the best defences in the competition, and Canberra couldn't score against them. They scored a try through a drop ball in the first half, and they couldn't score until the 78th minute. They only got through by putting a little great kick through. That's how good the Warriors' defence has been. And then, right at the end, they had to chance their arm, and they threw the ball wide, and they got away with it. And who hasn't had a try scored 60 or 70 metres in this year's NRL anyway? The Warriors' defence is fantastic. It's not, they haven't gone back to their old ways or whatever, falling away in the last, 10 minutes. If I was a coach, I'd just say that just happens occasionally. And it's not one that you have to worry about, Sammy. Their defence is absolutely fantastic. They are I think they're the fittest side in the competition. And I'm a Brisbane man, and I think they're a better side than my side at the moment. All
right, Joey. Hey, appreciate your call, mate. Sorry we do have to running out of time, but I do take your point on the defence. They have been playing very well defensively, notwithstanding that last couple of minutes against the Raiders. John from Auckland, you got 30 seconds, mate.
Yep, nice and quick. Hey, all we need to do is not be complacent.
Yeah,
that's all I need to say. And if they won't, then they will probably achieve top 2.
You think 5 from 5, John? If we get it right.
Yeah, I'll give them about a 75% chance of 5 from 5.
Mm-hmm. Which one do you reckon's the bogey, if there is one?
Oh, mate, probably...
Got Manly, got Titans, Tigers, Dragons, Dolphins.
Look, we haven't done well against the Titans lately, especially over there. And the Sea Eagles have probably been our bogey side in the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, I take your point, John. You're bang on. Can't be complacent, and I don't think Webby would want that at all. Well, clearly he didn't want that because, like you said, didn't want to talk about football finals football. He wants to talk about the games coming up. Got to take one more break. We'll come back and wrap the show after this. Running It Straight. We are coming up to 3 o'clock and a hand over to the run home with Kirst and Beeve. Look, just before we finish, there's a couple of, I guess, obvious points that we can make around these last 5 games. Of course, they're all teams that can beat us. Of course, they're teams that can play well on any day, and of course, we can't be complacent. But there's nothing wrong as a fan with being excited, and there's nothing wrong with being confident and thinking that you can win all 5 games and that you can play finals football. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's part of what being a fan's about. And you might be wrong, but gee, just ride that train and just have the fun, because it's an exciting time of year, especially when the Warriors are doing as well as they are. That is us for another week. Great chat with Andrew Webster. If you did miss it, go and find it on the podcast channels. We'll be back next Wednesday and a big game against the Titans to preview, which we will have live here on SENZ. Running it straight, that's us. We'll hand over to the run home with Kirsten Beat. Up the wires.